So Doom for the PC was a critical and financial success, and despite the controversy that erupted over the violent content, fans wanted more FPS action, and in October of 1994 they would get their wish. Doom 2 Hell on Earth was released as a follow-up to the first Doom in terms of not only plot, but also gameplay aesthetics. Unlike the first game, which was available as a shareware release at mail order, Doom 2 was available in retailers as a physical release. When the game was released, it was again subject to critical acclaim and strong sales. But does this game deliver new and fresh blood to the series, or is it the same FPS fare? Well, let's find out. For the story, this game is a little more plot heavy in contrast to its predecessor, but still I'll describe this as much as I can. Following on from the events of Doom 1, demons have invaded Earth and started their onslaught of millions of people, with the surviving humans having to plan an escape from Earth by building spaceships to transport them out of space. But unfortunately, the only spaceport that's available to launching them has been also invaded by the demonic hostiles, so Doom Guy once again springs into action and battles against the Hell Patrol in order to deactivate the force field that's cordoning off the base so the humans can escape. Only Doom Guy stays behind to see where the demons are coming from. Eventually, an off-planet transmission reveals where the hostile base is in the center of the home of Doom Guy, and he goes into one last stand mission to stop the Hell Forces and their overlord, the Icon of Sin. The story is a little more deep in terms of plot compared with the first game, so it works for a much more rich plot. In terms of the gameplay, not a lot has changed from the first Doom, although there are some new enemies to slay and items to pick up. The game plays like the last game, slay your way through levels of enemies, pick up colored keys to progress and get to the exit and move on to the next stage. You again have to get not only items to survive, but also weapons in order to tackle the more tougher enemies in the later parts of this game. Weapons again includes the shotgun, the chain gun, the rocket launcher, the plasma rifle, the BFG 9000 and the chainsaw. New to this game is a more powerful version of the shotgun, the super shotgun, which deals twice the damage to enemies compared to a normal shotgun shot, but at the expense uses 2 shells. The game still has secret areas to uncover if you would want to be equipped with the best gear, and you'll need it as soon as possible, because this game is notable for being slightly more harder than its predecessor. I assume many FPS fans felt the first Doom was a bit too easy, so I decided to ramp up the difficulty level for those who mastered the first game, but I can say it's a bit more of that because of the new enemies being introduced in the game. New additions to the enemy cast include the heavy weapon zombie who will spray you full of lead, the pain elemental who will spawn more lost souls, the mancubus which can take some beating, and of course, who can forget the most unforgiving enemy in the game, the Archville. This guy will have the nerve to not only trap you in fire before dealing the damage, but he'll resurrect with black magic. Your enemies will be resurrected. How in the world is that logical? If that's not enough, you'll be fighting more demons because in certain areas there will be more monsters hiding in the most unusual places, and when you get stuff like keycards and armor, they'll go out to attack you. Oh shit! Oh shit! The steep increase in difficulty doesn't really show in the first few stages, but you can tell the game progressively gets harder when you get through the first level interval of the game, and it shows where if you make one wrong false move, your ass is dead. And if you want to try that part again, save your game as conveniently as you can. The game sees the return of the regular demons like the imps, zombies, pinky demons, specters, lost souls, cacodemons, and barons of hell. I'm saying this because certain levels like to spam enemies all over the place. I know it's not really complaining, but I'm really baffled at how the difficulty and required skill level has soared compared with the first game. Another feature that is different is of course the progression of the game. Instead of the game being episodic like Doom 1, the game is more linear as you go from level to level without being taken to the title screen. I thought the idea of having to start over with just your pistol melee attack when you go from episode to episode in the last game was a bit of an unneeded inconvenience. So to have the episodic formats removed is a total blessing. Hell, Duke Nukem 3D with its episodic routes at least allowed you to keep your weapons whenever you get to the next setting of the game. But back with Doom 2, the gameplay still has that over-the-top shooting action that fans of the original will enjoy like in the last game, although the difficulty spikes will most likely put some people off. In terms of the level designs, they are noticeably a lot more open-ended compared with the first game. The first few levels are linear like the previous game, but when you reach the halfway point, some of them are like sandbox levels where you can go anywhere freely, but you still need to memorize where to go in order to get to the exit. If there's one level I will say I truly hate in this game, is the Tricks and Traps level. All the doors are unlocked except for 2 in which you need colored keys, and one of them is in a room full of barons of hell and a cyber demon. If that's not enough, other rooms are chock full of imps, cacodemons, specters, lost souls, and other kinds of demons that want you dead. And even so, getting to the end is a completely contempt, as the platforms lower whenever you step on them, so get to the door without even stopping. Other than that, the levels have been designed rather well. For visual presentation, not a lot has changed, but still the presentation is top notch for a 1990s FPS game. Everything that made the first Doom game appealing graphics wise is still nice to look at, and the animation is pretty good, and the game still has that dark, murky look that represents the game's satanic ways, which is still this game's appealing point, but still not a lot to talk about in terms of pure visuals though, so moving on. The audio is still great as well. The game has a new soundtrack which is again composed by Bobby Prince, and they sound as great as the first Doom soundtracks. Although the game notably is still a little less rock oriented and much more poppy, which to be fairly honest is a bit unfitting to the atmosphere of this game. It's still great to hear, but it's one thing to point out. The sound effects are still the same with new ones added in to accommodate new enemies, and they still sound as good as in the last game. And to say this, the audio is still great to hear. Overall, Doom 2 Hell on Earth is to be described as an equally impressive game as its predecessor. It doesn't get a higher score than its predecessor due to the similarities to the first game and its difficulty spikes, but with new levels, new story and a new soundtrack with everything as good as the first game, this is one to play alongside Doom on, and one for so many Doom fans to absolutely play. So with that being said, I'm going to give Doom 2 a 9.4 out of 10.
So in conclusion, Doom 2 is an absolutely fantastic game, and despite the fact it's been a bit too similar, and the fact that there's so many difficulty spikes with it, I still say it is very essential to any Doom fan's collection. I have to say it's at the same level as the first Doom, with the amount of new features in it, as well as some new level designs. But with that being said, I'm going to admit this right now, that the difficulty can put some people off wanting to play this game if they actually love the first game. But in my honest opinion, if anybody loves Doom 1, they're more likely to like Doom 2. If they can ignore the bad ports that came before this game. Or around the same time, I believe. Well, with that being said, I'm Mitch McKidd. I'll see you guys next time for the final Doom and the Master Levels Doom 2. Well, with that being said, I'll see you guys later. Oh, I almost forgot. I got to do this port as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the PlayStation 1 port of Doom. What did I think of this game? Well, let's find out.
In 1995, around the same time the Super Nintendo version of Doom was out, the PlayStation saw its way to stores in both the US and Europe. And a few months later, the PlayStation 1 owners got their Doom fixed with this port. Again developed by Williams Entertainment, this game was another port, or was it another subpar effort? Sir, no. In fact, this is, in my eyes, the best console port of Doom I've ever experienced. For some reason, I don't classify this as a port entirely because of some new things added to it. First of all, the game's graphical presentation and lighting has changed in certain areas to give up that subtle, ambient look to the game's dark atmosphere, and I think Williams did a great job at doing that. Another thing that's changed is not only the Doom 1 levels are ported over to this game, but also a handful of levels from Die Flesh Consumed and Doom 2, as well as this game has some new levels exclusive to this version thanks to Midway Games taking part of the development of this port, as well as the 2 levels from the Atari Jaguar version. Also different is the audio. Instead of having Bobby Prince's MIDI soundtrack, the game's soundtrack is this time composed by Aubrey Hodges, and the soundtrack has a much more ambient feel to it, and it really fits the game's dark tone. I liked how Hodges managed to make the music more darker and atmospheric, as well as making the quality of it incredible, as this port is on CD-ROM technology, so expect CD quality music. The sound effects and voice have also been changed by Hodges as well, and they sound more realistic and darker too, as well as having the screams be more forced and when any of the enemies are in pain, as well as the echoing effects having been added in and whenever you are indoors, making noises and slaughtering demons. Alongside that, the save system was ditched in favour of a password system, which is always a good backup considering certain people don't want to stop and save, although it is a lifeline for God's sake. But every time you die in this port, you have to pause the game and confirm the password as it's already entered it conveniently, but the big downside is that you have to start from the beginning of the level, but you do still keep your weapons though, so that's a good thing, I guess. In honesty, this console port of Doom is amazing. I think aside from the recent ports of the PC version in digital services, this is highly recommendable for those who have a PS1 and are huge Doom fans. Surely it's not on the same technical level as the PC version due to the CD-ROM limitations, but this version is still worth playing for those who don't fancy playing with a mouse and keyboard. Within that, I'll give this port a 9.3 out of 10.
As you can probably tell, Doom 1 is an absolutely fantastic game, and I could absolutely tell why people absolutely thought this was one of the better ports of Doom. It's an absolute classic, and you can probably tell the artwork absolutely does do some justice. Alongside the fact of the changes that the game had made, along with a lot of great things. As you can probably tell, I actually think it's better you're better off getting this port than the crappy Sega 32X version or the Super Nintendo version, which is a bit too blurry. As well as the boring Atari Jaguar port, which had no music, although I haven't played that yet. So with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I do apologise for the delay as I had to go to MCM for 2 days and I was a bit too tired for doing this review. But honestly though, better late than never, I suppose. Well, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time for when I do the final 2 games in the classic Doom series, Final Doom and Master Levels for Doom 2. How do those games fare in my eyes? Well, with that being said, I'm Mitch McKidd. I'll see you guys in the next review, and take care.